Greetings my beautiful lovelies, it's Emmy. How are you? It's great to see you and welcome back. Today's video is sponsored by Helix Sleep. Helix Sleep are the makers of premium mattresses and bedding that are customized to suit your needs and conveniently delivered right to your doorstep. Did you know that March is Sleep Awareness Month and that a lack of sleep hinders your immune system and you're more likely to catch a cold? I 100% can attest to this because whenever I get run down, I always end up getting sick. And I'm super sensitive to changes in my sleep patterns. If I even get an hour less than I normally do, I definitely feel it. Sleep is so very important. And we've been getting terrific sleep with our Helix Sleep mattress. We've had it for a number of years and we absolutely love it. I really notice it when we travel and I sleep on another mattress and I say this is not nearly as comfortable as my bed at home. And when you compare it to our old mattress, which was getting kind of lumpy and the springs were wearing out, our Helix Sleep mattress is such an upgrade. To find the perfect mattress, we took the Helix Sleep quiz and entered all of our sleeping preferences, and it matched us with the Helix Sleep Dusk Luxe. And we also love that Helix has come out with a series of mattress toppers. They sent us the premium mattress topper and we've been using it on our guest bed, which is actually a pull-out bed. It's just a couch and we put it on there and it makes it so comfortable. It's such a transformation and it's a great way to extend the life of an existing mattress. Such a simple fix, and I love that there's a sleep solution for just about everyone. All Helix Sleep mattresses come with a 120-night sleep trial to make sure you love it and a lifetime warranty. And if you live in the US, shipping is free. So if you'd like to try Helix out for yourself, you can click the link down below or head over to helixsleep.com/emmymade and take advantage of their Sleep Week sale exclusive partner offer. It's 27% off site-wide. Big thanks to Helix Sleep for sponsoring this video and for their continued support so I can make better videos for all of you. Alrighty, my lovelies, today we're going to attempt to make Coke, homemade Coca-Cola. Now this is something I've thought about since the very beginnings of my channel. Some 13 years ago, there were recipes floating around on the internet on how to make a Coke dupe, the secret recipe on how to make homemade Coca-Cola. And I've always been a bit skeptical. Reading the list of ingredients, it just doesn't seem quite right. There is a recipe that you can find online called the Pemberton recipe that's dated from 1886 that details ingredients that is supposed to make something that is like Coke. But I've never found anything that I found at all convincing until about a month ago when I watched a video by Lab Coats and their year-long journey to come up with this recipe on homemade Coke. So very rigorously researched this recipe. It includes help from mass spectrometers, reading science journals, looking up chemicals, taste testing, many variations of this recipe, and it uses ingredients I've never even heard of. If you're interested in the original video, I'll put a link to it down below. It is extensive and I love it. It goes through all the trials and tribulations, well, most of the trials and tribulations that will fit into a YouTube video about how this recipe evolved. And so we're going to be attempting to make homemade Coke and I'm so excited. So understandably, Coke's recipe is highly top secret, but apparently it's not patented because if they patent it, they would have to list all the ingredients. So a mass spectrometer will produce a graph with peaks indicating what chemicals are analyzed in the sample. So using that, you can get an idea of what is in Coke. Let me give you an overview of the process because it's pretty involved. We're going to be making two parts. One's going to have the oils that are going to be diluted in alcohol, and the other we're going to have some water-based flavorings. We're going to take those two, dilute them properly, add them to some carbonated water and some sugar, and that will be our resulting soda. So first, what we're going to do is make what's often called the 7X solution. Another thing that should be noted, besides taking a long time to get all the proper tools and ingredients, this recipe is not exactly inexpensive. This single batch will make 5,000 liters of Coke. So even so, it will be cheaper than what you can purchase in the store. Do I recommend adventuring this? I don't know. First, we have to taste it. A large percentage of the flavor components in Coke are citrus-based, including lemon, lime, and a bit of orange. So I've got myself a graduated cylinder. Unfortunately, I got a micropipetter that was a bit small. I got the 100 microliters instead of the 1,000 microliters, but we'll just have to do this multiple times. Boom, we need 45.8 milliliters of lemon essential oil. When you use a graduated cylinder, you look for the meniscus, which is the bend on the surface of the solution, and you want that bend to hit the line. Into my vessel. Oh, it smells great. Now we need 36.5 milliliters of lime. Ooh, this one's clear. Orange, 1.2 milliliters. Now we're doing 8 milliliters of tea tree oil. We're doing cinnamon cassia. I'll be back after I do the cassia. 45 pumps of this, jeez. Now we're gonna do a little bit of nutmeg. Boom, 2.7 milliliters. All of these smell a little bit different than what I think of when I think of nutmeg or cinnamon. Just more resinous, concentrated, just intense. Now we're going to do coriander. Coriander seed, just 0.7. That smells fantastic. Oh, I would wear that. Alrighty, lovelies. The final ingredient in the 7X solution is a chemical called Fenchol. It's an alcohol that has a very specific fragrance. It smells sweet, but turpentine-y, mentholated a bit, a little bit musky, very interesting, but it can get solid at room temperature, so I've got it sitting here in some hot water. 0.6 milliliters or 600 microliters. Finally, we have the 7X solution. It smells amazing here. I cannot describe the combination of scents, but musky, citrusy, spicy, all together in here, all from these essential oils. Quite strong, actually. Alrighty, now we have to wait. So this is part 1. I'm gonna come back after this has sat for at least 24 hours. Now, apparently this is a pretty important step. I've waited this long, so another 24 hours I can manage. So, lovelies, I will be back to make the rest of this in a little bit. Alrighty, lovelies, we are back to continue our homemade Coke adventure. Now we are going to dilute this in some alcohol, and we need 20 milliliters of that. We're going to add our flavor oil. And now we're going to add grain alcohol, otherwise known as Everclear. This is going to act as a solvent, kind of break up the oils so that we can get it into solution with our water, because oil and water do not mix. So we're adding a little bit of alcohol just like you would make a vanilla extract. Now don't be alarmed, the final amount of alcohol we will be adding to our Coke base is super small. So we're going to add some grain alcohol to the graduated cylinder just to rinse out our oil. Get as much of that out as possible. Top this off. Very nice. Now to store this, I'm going to pour it into more glassware, which is a lot of fun. This is a 1 liter bottle. Oh, I should use a funnel. Oh man, we had a little bit of loss. Okay, this is our alcohol solution. Now we are making the water-based solution. This contains the caramel color, the phosphoric acid to make it sour, and all the things that will be dissolved in water. I'm gonna put on some gloves because I am going to be handling phosphoric acid, adding about 200 milliliters of hot water. This will help dissolve things. Some vinegar, 10 milliliters of vinegar. Whew, can smell that. It reminds me of dyeing eggs for Easter. 9.65 grams of caffeine. Next, we're adding 150 grams of glycerin. This is for mouthfeel. 43 milliliters of phosphoric acid. And this is food grade, 85% purity. Phosphoric acid. 8 grams of wine tannins. Interesting, right? Gently work that in. I think I saw on a Japanese game show, and they talked about stirring and how stirring across the container is a more effective way of incorporating something into solution rather than doing the intuitive swirling, which just creates a vortex. And in the middle, whatever you're trying to dissolve or incorporate, just say hot cocoa powder, for example, it'll stay in the middle. But cutting it back and forth and across mixes it better and more efficiently. Now 10 milliliters of vanilla extract. I always smell the vanilla, always. 10 milliliters of that. It's got the brown color of Coke, but we're not quite there yet. Shank's Caramel Food Color. 320 milliliters of this. Wow, that's dark. And now we bring this up to 1,000 milliliters. Do a similar thing where I rinse out my glassware. Boom. So this is kind of interesting. It's got a body to it. It definitely has a viscosity. It looks like motor oil though, but it's not that thick. Now we've got our two solutions. We've got the 7X alcohol solution and our water-based solution. Now we're finally ready to make a liter of Coke. In our beaker, we're going to add 104 grams of granulated sugar, plain old sugar. About 150 milliliters hot water. We're going to swizzle that to dissolve the sugar. 10 milliliters of the water-based solution, and then 1 milliliter of our 7X solution. Now we're going to give this a mix, and now we heat this. We can heat this in the microwave until it's just about boiling. And now we're putting a lid on it and letting this cool completely. And then we're going to fill this all the way up to 1 liter with carbonated water. That's going to be our Coke. But in order for me to get a real sense of whether or not this tastes like Coke, I want to have it chilled, and I also want to do a side-by-side comparison with original Coke. So what I'm going to do is bottle it and cap it to seal in the carbonation. I will see you tomorrow once everything is bottled and cooled. All right, lovelies, see you in a little bit. Alrighty, lovelies, moment of truth. Let's give the homemade Coke a taste. All right, let's crack it open. That's promising. It's still fizzy. I see bubbles. Can you see the bubbles in there? Yes. Oh, it smells like Coke. Oh my gosh, it does. It smells like Coke. Ah, that's a good sign. Cheers. And it tastes like Coke. Although it's not as fizzy, it does remarkably taste like Coke. But immediately I notice that it's not as fizzy. It's not nearly as fizzy as I want it to be. So I would add more carbonation. How would I go about that? I'm not sure. Maybe having a pressurized canister of CO2. But the flavor is very good. I would say it tastes very Coke-like. Not exactly Coke though. The first thing I noticed is the difference in effervescence. It's not as fizzy, and I want it to be fizzier, slightly flat. This is slightly less sweet, and I think that's why I like fountain Coke best, because it's a little bit less sweet to me and less fizzy, and it just tastes fresh to me. And This reminds me of fountain Coke. The flavor is pretty close. If I was blindfolded, I think I would be able to distinguish that this is not Coke. This has a little bit of a distinguishing flavor to it. Not sure what part of the essential oils, but something that's a little bit different that I can taste at the end. But a very close dupe. I would say 80%. So let me just show you the effervescence. Definitely present. It's fizzy. And it looks like Coke. And it smells like Coke too. Never realized how much citrus is in Coke. Even with that information, I can't really distinguish it amongst all those flavors. So let's open a bottle of real Coke. Cheers. Oh, that's really different. First off, that's a lot sweeter. Wow, after having homemade Coke and then original Coke, it's really altered my Coke receptors. Somehow this tastes less cola-like after having this one. How's that possible? This tastes sweeter and more acidic. And this one tastes more like cola flavored. It seems like this one has more complex flavors and more flavor, while this one has more acid and sugar. The flavors of the essential oils are a little lasting though. They kind of stay on your tongue, while the original Coke dissipates. I think in my next batch of homemade Coke, I'm going to use a little less of the 7X solution, the one that contains all of the essential oils. Tone that down a little bit. I might bump up the phosphoric acid a little bit though. Wow. That was a Coke burp. But I do like the homemade version. But this seems so cloyingly sweet next to this. This definitely tastes sweeter, more caramelly, and way less flavorful. I like the flavor of the homemade Coke, but it doesn't taste exactly like homemade Coke. The conclusion is that this is a very, very good recipe for making homemade Coke. And I have a bunch of the water base and the 7X solution to play with to make more batches of homemade Coke. Alright, my lovelies, I did it. I made a homemade version of Coke. So much fun. I learned so much. Big shout out to Lab Coats for all of the research and for sharing the recipe. If you want to see the original video, I'll put a link to it down below. Alrighty, my lovelies, thanks so much for watching, and big thanks to Helix Sleep for sponsoring this video. If you'd like to check out Helix for yourself, you can click the link down below or head over to helixsleep.com/emmymade and take advantage of their Sleep Week exclusive partner sale. It's 27% off site. Thanks again for watching. I hope you enjoyed that one. I hope you learned something. Please share this video with your friends. Follow me on social media, like this video, subscribe, and I shall see you in the next one. Toodaloo, take care, bye! Oh my gosh, I cannot wait to share this with my family. Homemade Coke!